Okay, so today we're going to learn how to light a torch, but first, a little something to get you excited.
A welding supply company minutes from downtown is on fire. The business stores hundreds of welding tanks filled with acetylene, a highly flammable gas. The intense heat of the fire is causing pressure to rise inside the 130-pound tanks, and they could explode at any moment. This precarious situation has forced an evacuation of the area and emergency crews to stand back. The building is engulfed in flames, and the volatile canisters can't sustain the burning temperature for long. Police have shut down one side of the freeway, but the other side remains open. If these tanks burst, they could turn into lethal projectiles. This situation, combined with being a stone's throw from downtown Dallas, has all the ingredients for what could become a major disaster. Then, the first tank explodes and flies across buildings. The velocity of the projectile confirms that anything in the vicinity is in jeopardy. Then, another tank explodes, and this time the 5-foot container narrowly misses a truck on the far side of the freeway. Then comes another one. Then another. And another. Before long, a slew of flaming projectiles vault hundreds of feet into the air. They pummel the freeway, at times barely missing drivers. The building is now a launch center for the acetylene tanks and is completely out of control. Finally, the explosions subside. The entire building is destroyed, along with many cars surrounding it. An investigation reveals that one tank with a defective connector caused it to ignite. The flames quickly spread, leading to this explosive chain reaction. 2 people at the company suffered third-degree burns trying to extinguish the fire. Fortunately, no one was killed when these canisters ignited and wreaked havoc near the heart of downtown Dallas.
Okay, so as you can see, acetylene can be really dangerous to work around, right? But we're here today to learn to work with it safely. So today, we're going to go down to the shop after we go through the slides here, and I'm going to take you down, I'm going to show you how to set up everything properly, so in hopes that we don't have something like this happen, right? This was down in Dallas, it was hot, you can see, right, one of the fusible safety plugs failed, and they had a huge problem. Here, right, we're not working around the tanks, they're in a secure manifold room here, so we'll show you how to go through all the steps to set everything up properly, and we'll have a good safe day today. So just a few things on acetylene. We call it oxyacetylene because we're working with acetylene gas and oxygen. Right? We need those two to combine to make our flame to do any sort of cutting or welding. So we'll just take a look at a few of the things with cutting. So acetylene and oxygen combine with the iron and the oxygen in the air to form iron oxide. So iron oxide is also known as rusting. So when you leave a piece of metal out in the rain and you get that layer of rust on there, it's actually a layer of oxide on the metal. Rusting obviously is something that occurs naturally and slowly. When we do it in a setting like in a shop or out in the field, we're doing it in a kind of a super sped up way where we call it kind of a rapid oxidization. And instead of forming rust, the iron oxide forms a molten slag that's blown away by a stream of oxygen. So we're going to heat it up, there's a stream of oxygen that comes out, and then it's going to blow all that molten slag away. Uses in an oxy-fuel setup get up to a preheat flame temperature of 870 degrees Celsius. So it's really hot, so we need to be safe with it. You don't want to get burns on your hand or on your arm or on your forearm like we do in welding sometimes. right? So it's really hot, 1600 degrees Fahrenheit if you're going the American way. A narrow stream of oxygen is actually doing all the cut in this, right? So we're going to get our preheat flame set up. It's going to heat it up, then we're going to squeeze a lever, and then that lever is going to shoot out a stream of oxygen that's going to blow all that molten steel away. So it actually causes that metal to burn. The iron combines with the oxygen to form iron oxide or slag like we talked about, and then you're going to get a narrow opening in there. That's called your kerf. Right? So we kind of need a basis to go on, right? After we light our flame, what do we do next? But today we're just going to focus on lighting our flame, but afterwards we're going to do some cutting. So the cutting tip's got a lot of holes in it. I'm going to show you a couple slides of what the torch looks like and what the cutting tip looks like. So there's going to be some holes around the outside and there's going to be one on the inside, and I'll show you what that looks like. Then we have some gases, different kinds of gases depending on where you work. You might have any of these four. So acetylene is the most common gas. Then we have propane, MAP gas, and natural gas.
Which gases produce the hottest flame?
Acetylene produces the hottest flame. That's why we use it here. It's a good teaching aid for students. If you go down to BCIT, they have natural gas, and that produces a much colder flame. But the reason that we use it here, it's faster. You get that higher flame temperature. You can preheat your metal faster. You can cut faster. We get more welds over the 7 months or the week that you guys are here. It's a cheaper gas also. So you can see here, these are two different kinds of cutting and welding attachments. The one on the top is a welding attachment. The one on the bottom, this is what we're going to be using today. This is a cutting attachment. It actually screws onto a torch body. So I'm going to show you how to do that when we get down there. So it's got a few different levers on there. I've got some better pictures of that. This is a one-piece heavy-duty cutting torch. This is what we use on the portable cutting torches outside. So this is one type that most places like to use, just because you don't have to worry about threads getting wrecked, losing different pieces of the torch, and it also has a longer neck on it, right? Longer to slide across your hand. You can do longer cuts with it. So depending on where you work, you might have one or the other. This is the style that we're going to have here. This is a pre-mixing type torch. So you can see in the picture, this type of torch does all the mixing of whatever gas you're using. We're going to be using acetylene today. So it mixes everything in the torch body. Whereas this style does all the mixing with the tip right in the end there. So we have two different kinds of those. These are just some different tips that you can have on there. So we're going to be using this straight style. That's for cutting. You can use a scarfing tip to wash the plate off of a weld. You can use a gouging tip. We've got heavy-duty rivet bolt style tips on there. Those are for washing bolts off of plates or different washing procedures. So you can see here some different styles of tips for cutting and washing, and then just a different type of seating. So when you put that into a torch, you can see you can tighten them up, and just different styles on there. This is our basic setup. When we go downstairs, this is basically what we're going to have. We've got gauges at the top. You guys are all going to have your cutting goggles on. We've got our hoses in the middle. Red is for gas. Green is for oxygen. We've got a torch body, different torch tips. And then the most important thing on there is number 7. Anybody know what those are? Flashback arresters. So that's to make sure that our flame doesn't get all the way back to our bottles and cause an explosion. So everybody will have those on their setup down there. That's a really important safety feature to have, just to be extra safe when we're down there. This is what our gas room looks like. So it's far enough away that, if your flashback arresters fail, and it gets all the way back to our hydraulic flashback arrestor, all the way out there. If those two failed and we had an explosion, it's confined to a huge concrete room, and we don't have to worry about explosions or anything, but we shouldn't have any failures because we have all those safety features on there. So that's what the acetylene room looks like. And this is our oxygen manifold system. So everything's far away. We're running off a really big system so that we're not constantly running back and forth and having to move bottles around. And here's flashback arrestors like we have in the shop, and then a hydraulic one. This is a massive flashback arrestor that's in our gas room. Should something get all the way back there, that'll block it from getting into tanks. So here we've got a proper looking preheat inner flame cones. So when you light your torch, this is what they should look like. Okay, nice crisp, kind of slightly rounded tips you can see on the white there, and then a blue flame sticking out the rest of the way. And then we've got one with one longer inner flame cone. So obviously you want to have that nice looking flame when you're about to cut.
What should I do if I get a flame like that?
If you get a flame like that, there's a couple things you can do. You might want to just add a little bit more oxygen. That'll kind of crisp everything up. It'll get all those flames even. Sometimes you might have to look at it and pull out your tip cleaners and just clean one or two of those holes that might have a little bit of slag on it or something. But the goal is to have that flame nice and crisp so that we're always making a good cut every time. Right? If you have one of those flames sticking out, there's a good chance that it's going to affect your cut. You could have a rounded edge on top because that one flame is going to kind of burn your metal on the edge as we're going along. So you want a nice square cut as we're going along every time. This is what it looks like when you squeeze that lever. Okay, that oxygen jet's coming through the middle and it's producing your cut. So you're going to have a nice long blue flame coming through here, and it's going to do a really nice cut if you've got that set up. These are just some different styles of cutting tips. So the one on the far left, that's what we're going to use today. If you're cutting really thick steel, you're going to have one of the other types. So as you can see, there's a lot less preheat holes in there, and the cutting jet orifice right in the middle. You can see on that one from the second right, it's huge, right? You can cut up to 6 inches of steel with this, and it'll actually make a nice, clean, straight cut. I'm going to give each one of you one of these sheets at the end, and this is something that you can keep in your toolbox, tape it to the top, and it actually gives you all your gas settings depending on the thickness and tip size that you're using. So if you're going to be cutting, let's see, 4-inch thick and you got a number 5 tip, you're going to want 60 psi of oxygen and 5 psi of acetylene. So that gives you kind of a good range and setup for what you need to do on cutting. This is what I was talking about with the tip cleaners. So if you end up getting a clogged tip or you got some slag on there and you need to clean them, you have all these little whiskers in there, and you just give it a quick little poke in and out, and then it'll clean the tip for you. Then we don't have to worry about that. And this is a good example on how to do it. Okay, so the steps. We'll go through them verbally here. We'll go down to the shop. We'll show you practically how to do it. And then I'm going to give everybody a chance to do it on their own. We'll make sure everybody's got it straight before we get into our cutting. So you want to take your cutting attachment and screw it onto the torch body. Okay, we only do this hand tighten only. Okay, we don't use a wrench. If you use a wrench on those, it actually ruins the seat in there. So sometimes if you use a wrench and you tighten it really hard, the next time somebody goes to put it on, it'll leak and they'll have flames flying out of there. You'll see people freaking out, wondering what's going on. So we only do that hand tighten. You need to check and see that your fuel gauge and your oxygen gauge is backed all the way out. So we're going to take the screw on there and back it all the way out till it's loose. And then we can open up the acetylene valve. And we only open that up a quarter to a half turn. Okay, we only do that because in the event they maybe get a hole in your hose or something goes wrong with your torch, it's a quick turn off, right? thing to remember with this, acetylene on first, acetylene off first, right? It's the thing that's going to make that flame continue. Once we restrict that fuel from coming out, then we're going to be a lot safer. So only a quarter to a half turn with that, and it'll still allow a lot of gas out. Next, we're going to open up the oxygen valve all the way. Okay, we'll crank it all the way open. You don't have to crank it super hard, just open it up all the way. It's got a double seat in there, which means it's got two different parts that it needs to seat inside to make it work properly. And then you're going to open up the oxygen valve on the bottom of the torch body. So not on the cutting attachment. You're going to open up that one all the way. And then you're going to check to see that that upper valve on the torch body is closed. So this is all the steps we're going to go through when we go down. So when those are all ready, we open up our acetylene a little bit, and then we're going to ignite the acetylene. And then you're going to increase that acetylene slowly until all the black smoke goes away. And we're going to add some oxygen, and then we're ready to go. Okay, so let's head on down, and I'll show you guys how to light a torch.
Let's do it.
Good. Okay, so we did our spiel upstairs, went through the steps on how to light a torch. Now we're actually going to come down here and do it. So everybody's got a torch on the table here. And what you do is make sure you pay attention to the steps. It'll be a little bit confusing, things can get mixed up. So try to pay attention as much as you can. If you need help, just holler for me, and I'll come over and help you light everything. So you're going to take the torch body, just do a quick check to make sure you turn it off. Then you're going to take the cutting torch head. Okay, like I said, hand tighten only on this thing. Don't use a wrench or anything. All you have to do is screw it on. I usually just take my glove off, and then just give it a good tighten with your hand. Make sure it's tight. If it's loose and you want to light this, eventually you're going to get flames coming out of here. So make sure it's good and tight. Okay, the next step that we talked about, making sure that our gauges were backed off. So unscrew the gauges, make sure those are loose. Okay, then we take our top one, acetylene. Okay, that's the red. Should say acetylene on the top, and then oxygen down here. Then we'll give that quarter to a half turn. Then you can open up your oxygen all the way. Okay, the next step, take your oxygen. That's where it says O on the torch body, and open that up all the way. So you can screw that. Same thing, don't hammer it open up all the way. Just do it until you get a little bit of tension. Okay, and then this one should be closed, like we talked about upstairs. Next what we're going to do is open up our acetylene a little bit. Okay, just enough so that we can get some gas flow. And we're going to slowly turn this in, and you're going to see that pressure build up. So for this, we're going to go to 7. Once it's at 7, turn it off. Same thing with the oxygen. Turn a little bit on, then turn the screw in. Go right in between 20 and 30 of that, then we'll turn it off again. Okay, so now our gas pressure is set. We're able to light the torch. So make sure you put your goggles down. Hey, don't stare at the flame with your bare eyes. Even though it's not super bright, it can actually burn your eyes. It's the same thing as setting the gauges. So I'm going to leave my mask up, otherwise you're not going to be able to hear me. I'll light it and then I'll put it down. Same thing. Open your fuel a little bit. And you can see that heavy black smoke coming off. So as fast as you can, get on your torch body valve, slowly at it until that black smoke goes away. See how it's kind of gone now? Then we're going to go up here to the oxygen valve and slowly at it. Okay? Then you can see we got those nice crisp cones on it. Right? We don't have any that are uneven. That means that we're going to be able to have a good clean cup of that. So you can double check to see that your cones are good by squeezing your oxygen lever. You can see those cones stay the same every time I hit it. Right, so don't change. Okay, same thing. Acetylene on first, acetylene off. If you turn your oxygen off first, then you're going to get all that heavy black smoke soot getting in the air, and then you're going to be breathing in all day. So acetylene on first, and then acetylene off first. Okay, so go to wherever you have your torch, and grab a torch and set it up. And then when you got everything ready, we'll get you guys to light the torch. Okay, so go ahead and do that. If you have any questions, just yell for me and I'll try to help you. Excellent. Wow, nice sharp cones. Great job. So squeeze your lever a couple times. Make sure it's all set. Yep, add your oxygen. Okay, so let's set up to get turned off. Once you have your plate ignited and turn it off, just wait over here for a second. And Aaron, I'll get you to leave the line and back everything off. Come on over here, guys. here, come over and show us how to do this properly. Make sure everybody watches, see that they do it in the exact steps that we just went over. Do we have any volunteers? Keith? Okay, come on over. So we're going to do everything on this one here. Yeah, grab your gloves and your running goggles. Okay, so want it close to your guys, but make sure that Keith does all the steps properly. If he makes a mistake, make sure we just say, oh, you forgot this. So far, so good. Excellent, let's give Keith a round of applause. Well done. Okay, well, as you can see, right, as long as you remember the steps, the lighting, and turning off the torch, we can keep things safe. We don't have to have big accidents like they did down in Dallas, right? The biggest thing to remember when you're using a torch though, is settling on first. Settling off first. Beautiful, you guys are all set to go cut. Alright, that's it.